And then Roma have risen from their ruins. Nonetheless, the Greek god in Rome. The unthinkable unfolds before our eyes. Incredible scenes. And they've deserved it, Roma. Barcelona have bottled it. Manolas just wants to make it his, and he does. Great pace on the corner, gets across the near post, and it's all about the connection. And the Roman Renaissance is on. Brilliant header.
Yo guys, welcome to the GFSC Podcast. It is episode number 6. Got another great show up for you. Special guest this week, James Bowen. I'm sure you all know him. James, how are you, mate?
Hey man, how's it going?
All good, man. And back with us today is Martin. He missed last week's show. Martin, have you missed us, mate?
Yeah. I've missed you, Bill, a lot. I've missed you a lot.
Thanks, bro. That means a lot to me, man. Honestly, it does. But like I said, a great show we've got planned for you today. This week's a little bit different, guys. It was a massive week in football. Obviously, we had the Champions League fixtures, and today's show is going to be a Champions League special. So the whole show is going to be dedicated to the Champions League. And as ever, we've got your question and answer, so we'll be answering your questions as well. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So the first game, Tuesday's matches, Man City versus Liverpool. The first leg was 3-0 to Liverpool at Anfield. So this second leg, the game ended up finishing 2-1. Man City got an early lead, but then Liverpool bounced back with goals from Salah and Firmino. James, did you watch this game? What did you think of this game?
I watched the entire game, but I was more focused on the second half than the first,
Yeah.
even though the most controversy was in the first half.
Yeah.
And straight off, the score is deceptive because Liverpool's second goal was completely out of a mistake that they were forcing out of the center backs.
Yep.
Now, this Liverpool team doesn't seem experienced, but they had a role to play, and they didn't even care about the stats. They only had 5 shots in the whole game, but 3 were on target with 2 of them going in. The Firmino goal was mostly a solo effort, but it was literally something they had planned for the whole season, which was to catch Man City center backs off guard and to prove that Guardiola's system has a flaw and that his investments in defense weren't actually perfect. Also, Man City's attacks were somewhat, redundant. Like, they kept trying the same thing. Sané's goal that they scored in the Premier League when it ended 4-3, his first goal against Karius, he kept trying that. He kept trying shooting near post and crossing, and Liverpool kept cutting down on those problems, only inflating the stats.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that if Man City somehow got themselves through the next round, they wouldn't fit amongst the elite in Europe. While Liverpool, their plan is something that could help them across 2 legs and could get them to the final, which they haven't been in, I think, at least 30 years. Actually, more than 10 years, but with this kind of play style, they haven't been in a final in like over 30 years,
Yeah.
if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Also, they got the best possible tie because they're playing against a team that they've already faced this season, and they have references. Meanwhile, they haven't faced Real Madrid in, I think, 2 years, and that was in the group stages, in an irrelevant match.
Exactly.
Well, Man City have not faced English opposition in the Champions League ever, if I'm not mistaken. While Liverpool have. They faced Chelsea 4 or 5 times, like 10 years ago. And this gave them the cutting edge. Even though they have none of the players that play those fixtures, they have people inside the club and outside of it. Well, Man City have Arteta as Guardiola's assistant manager, and he doesn't have that much European experience anyways because he played for Everton. So Liverpool had all the experience in the world to carry out this match. They didn't care about the stats. They didn't even care about the philosophy that went into defending 11 men behind the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Man United and other teams, they are criticized for using these tactics, Liverpool did what they had to do to carry out this tie. And they were more asphyxiated with getting the tie over with than Man City. Man City just wanted to perform damage control, which meant not look as bad in the final result. While Liverpool, they didn't care if they scored 1 or 2 goals and conceded 3 or 4. They just needed to get through, and that's all they had to do. I think over the 2 legs, Liverpool were the better team, and Man City are trying to push this false narrative that they were robbed. They never had a chance in the first place. They didn't have a plan that could kill the game off at any time of the 2 legs.
Yeah,
So that's how
that's a really good point. I like the bit where you raised about so that game against Liverpool is probably the worst tie they could have had in the Champions
yeah,
League, isn't it? Because obviously teams like Bayern, Real Madrid, Juventus, Sevilla, they're not going to be used to Man City's style, which has been so good
exactly.
in the Premier League this season. But obviously Liverpool have beaten them in the Premier League, and as you were saying, they were ready for them, weren't they?
Yeah. Also, I have a point where Man City are kind of in that Ancelotti phase where they won the Champions. Sorry, they haven't won the Champions League, but they've got a manager that has,
Hmm.
and so they think that that's a guarantee to winning the tournament. When in reality, those managers had players that could win a tie on their own, and even in their most, even in the peak moments of their team, their best teams like Barcelona, 2011, 2009, and with Real Madrid in 2014, they needed one individual performance in a few seconds to win an entire tie.
Yeah,
Well, Man City, they have De Bruyne, but De Bruyne's not that kind of player that can win you a game on his own, you know?
yeah,
Maybe in
yeah,
the Premier League, but if the Premier League in itself is struggling to compete in Europe, then that just shows that being the best in the Premier League won't guarantee you the Champions League
yeah,
in itself.
100%. Yeah,
Well, Liverpool did have a player that could do that in Salah. And I'm not going to lie, his two goals in both legs weren't flashy, but you don't need flashy to win the Champions League.
yeah,
Casemiro's deflected goal in the final of last year literally changed the entire match, changed history. Um, and these are the kind of things you don't expect, but they make the whole world of difference.
yeah. Okay, so Martin, what did you make of that game?
Oh, well, I liked James's point where he said that City were inflating the stats because when you look at it, Liverpool had 5 shots, 3 on target, scored 2. City had 20 shots, yet they had 3 on target.
Yeah,
I mean, that's 15. That's 15% of the shots on going on target. That's extremely low. 15% should be the percentage of uh the shots going in,
yeah.
not shots on
It shows
target.
you just shows you that how clinical Liverpool were on the night. Like James was saying, that they had a game plan, they came and they played it perfectly, and it worked. People thought Man City would win the tie, maybe 2-0, maybe 3-0. Maybe people thought
Yeah,
Man City could have gone through, but Liverpool won the
yeah,
second leg as well, and they've beaten Man City 3 times this season. And obviously Mohamed Salah and Firmino and Mane, players like that, they've played a big role. But people forget as well, like
yeah.
James Milner has played so well in those 2 legs against Man
Oh,
City as well.
mad, mad. Yeah.
Absolutely
So
crazy.
yeah. Now I'm gonna throw it in there. I didn't actually watch the game. I was too busy stressing over Barca getting knocked out. So I am judging over the stats. So yeah, I'm gonna throw it over to
Yeah.
Bill if he's going.
All right. So the next game, Roma versus Barcelona. First leg result was 4-1 to Barcelona. Roma obviously getting that away goal, and you would have thought Barcelona fans would have thought, yeah, we're pretty confident we're gonna beat that Italian team, Roma. Serie A shit, that's why we're gonna beat Roma. But it
Oh
really wasn't to be, was it? Roma 3,
no, it wasn't.
Barcelona nil. Barcelona out of the Champions League. I repeat, Barcelona out of the Champions League. Martin, hit me, mate.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right, let's go. So now let me get first of all into the stats here because I love them. So Barca having more possession. So this is the stupid part, right? This is where Barca know how to play like pussies well. So you don't you have a 4-1 lead and you go 1-0 down, you go 2-0 down, and you still let the other team attack because we knew Barca could at least take over the play more than they did because when they went 3-0 down, then they actually started like pressing forward. But they didn't do it before. Why were they scared of a counter? I don't fucking know. But it was a shit performance by Barca. The stats show it. Roma almost had double the shots, had more than double shots on target, more corners and whatever. The important thing is Barca got knocked out, and it was the main goal or the winning goal was scored by a Greek, and I don't really like the Greeks, but this man's a legend. And then
Speaking of
Dembele.
that, speaking of
So
that goal, Martin, obviously if you listened to the start of the show, you would have heard that commentary from Peter Drury. The commentary for that, it was absolutely amazing. So big shout out to Peter Drury, the commentator for that goal. You've heard it at the start of this show. That commentary was amazing. So big shout out to Peter Drury for that.
Yes.
Absolutely
Yes.
amazing.
Now, in this game, in the 73rd minute, Cengiz Ünder came on and assisted the goal 9 minutes later. When he got the ball, he did make dribbles. He did go inside, put in some crosses. He was really good when he came on. I think he's one of the players that made the difference. But then, you know who was meant to prove himself? The one, the only.
Here it comes, guys.
Ousmane Dembele. Oh my God, this little horse came on in the 85th minute, and with his wand both of his feet are freaking wands. Have you seen them? They're like sticks.
Yeah.
He took a shot from 40 yards, and guess what happened? Guess what happened? It was like I was almost watching a Bitek Ibrahimovic. I mean, my God. Obviously, it didn't go in. So Roma 3, Barca 0. Barca are out. I'm gonna touch on Dembele a little bit later. So I'm gonna save myself for then.
Well, yeah. This Roma versus Barca game, you watched it, right?
Of course, I watched the whole game.
Watched the whole game. So, what do you think? What do you think was the reason that Roma were able to win 3-0? Nobody thought they were gonna do it. So, was it the tactics? What was it?
Look, once I saw the result, because I didn't really expect this result. It's not something that you can actually predict. It's something that comes when you improvise. And so the Roma tactics were spot on from the start of the game. They believed for the whole 90 minutes that they could do it. So the reason I think that Roma won this game was because they did some research before the match.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when Barcelona played Chelsea, they were dominated in the first leg. It should have ended 1-0 to Chelsea had it not been for a mistake. So obviously they knew we can't make mistakes against this Barca team. Because this Barca team is deadly. You know, even if they're completely out of it, you can never say this. But do Barca believe that about Roma? They didn't. No one did. And so that's our time to capitalize as the underdog. So if you look back, Roma had come back from 2-0 down to draw 3-3 with Chelsea in the groups. And then they beat Chelsea 3-0. So they thought, Chelsea's a pretty big team. They did Barcelona dirty in the first leg, but they got completely destroyed at the Nou Camp, just like us. So we have a small chance of doing damage to Barcelona. Also, Roma were a team that were comfortable without the ball, unlike other teams Barcelona have faced in La Liga. So they knew that even if they had 40% possession, if they could make the long balls that they had count, they would win the match. I mean, win the match wasn't going to be enough, but that's what they really wanted, to give a good showcasing of their talents in Europe. And, this little bit of self-belief gave them one of the most historic results in the history of the Champions League, because Dzeko's penalty was the result of that physical, target man that he got from the Premier League. Like, he's using attributes that Barcelona's defenders aren't used to. They aren't used to this physicality. They're used to long ball, quick striker, like Griezmann-esque, and then cross it back in. They're not used to this target man that can hold off two defenders at once. And Piqué saw himself last man. Barcelona had to use a little bit of that dirty tactics and try to foul him without getting that red card. Once Roma smelled blood and they knew it was 2-0, they knew that they weren't facing Barcelona. They were facing a team that was struggling to even hold the ball.
They were facing a desperate team, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And they weren't even facing the actual Barcelona that people believed was playing that day. They were facing, I heard some of the commentators saying they're facing Benevento. They were the same colors. You just got to think like that. And the third goal, if you actually watch the match, there was a save Ter Stegen made at the end. Once Ter Stegen starts making saves, the other team's going to feel better, not worse. They're not going to feel disappointed. Yeah. They're going to start pushing because they know Ter Stegen is one of Barca's best players this season. And you might think to yourself, oh, that's a great thing for Barca, right? No, you shouldn't have your goalkeeper tested at any moment if you really want to win the Champions League.
That's a really good point you're raising, because a lot's been said about Barca's defense this season. It's not actually been that good, has it?
Yeah.
If they're leaking a lot of goals in La Liga.
Like, I remember, it's not really relevant, but in the last Clásico when Messi scored that last-minute goal, I kept saying, Real Madrid it's like poetic in a way. Real Madrid did not score their easy chances, like one hit off the post, one saved off of Ter Stegen's leg, and then Barcelona scored, I think, three goals from maybe 5 or 10 shots. They were more effective on the night, and
And
in the end, people
Barcelona
really
fans,
look
they
about stats.
can't really have any complaints about the match, can they? They
Yeah,
can't. They've
and
got no complaints at all.
also I mean, over Europe, they had this like virus where they were just gonna throw the game and choke. But Barcelona aren't really that kind of team that choke. I know that they haven't won in the quarterfinals in over 3 years, but it's not really something that you characterize over the season. And that's my main point about all these teams in the quarterfinals, that
Yeah,
football, it's not 90 minutes. Not even if when they were 2-0 down and there was 10 minutes left, they were in the tie. They could have just scored and killed the tie right there. It's this like historical background to these teams, that once you're out in the quarterfinals once, you either got to believe that you're never going to get knocked out in the quarterfinals again, or that
yeah,
you'll never get past the quarterfinals. And with Barcelona, they had players that have the experience of getting through these games. They had a game changer, and they weren't even able to capitalize on that because of the plan that Roma had. And when you really look about it, it's like Roma had this sixth sense. They didn't have world-class defenders. They had an agent Kolarov, who was a free agent over the summer. They're all right. Roma are the kind of team that, well, with all the respect in the world, are not used to winning titles, and they're probably on the back foot in their league most of the time. Well, this Barcelona side aren't used to losing, but that mentality can either be something sort of like confidence or something sort of arrogance. And that night, you could tell that Messi wasn't really gonna win them the game, and they thought, oh, we got the title and the cup to worry about. They didn't have that desperation that Roma have of making history. And aside from being in an away stadium, they just had a lot of things against them that were basically their fault. They could have played out the back and wasted time and held more possession than the 57% that they had. But instead, they were trying to get that goal. They were trying to prove to the world that they weren't going to go goalless against Roma, which they could have. Other teams in these quarterfinals, they had the luxury of just conceding goals and still going through, like Real Madrid, um, even Bayern
yeah.
and Liverpool too. But Barcelona, they were like, no, we're gonna score against Roma. Going goalless against Roma. Not only are we losing our undefeated streak in the Champions League season, but it would embarrass us over the entire season that we're undefeated in our league and losing to a team that won't even compete for the title. This self belief that they had already won the tie with the 4-1, or even when they drew Roma. If you watched how the representative of Barcelona in Geneva in Switzerland when they did the draw, um, he was laughing. They were like, "Oh, this tie is already done, over and done with." It's it's basically the pinnacle of football. It's not over until it's over, until the 90th
That's
minute is,
it. That's exactly.
arrives.
So, I want to ask this question to both of you now. So with that Champions League loss, with them going out, you saw the players at the end how distraught they were, like Iniesta, Messi, everyone, even the
It was
manager and
beautiful.
probably the backroom staff, the fans. Do you
Yeah.
think this loss will have a knock-on effect going into La Liga, especially when they come up against Madrid? Do you think it's gonna have a knock-on effect in terms of
Um,
confidence? Martin, what do you
Martin, do you
think,
want?
mate?
Uh, well, now Real Madrid maybe have more momentum. I mean, yes, we lost to Juventus. We're gonna touch on that later, but we did go through. So that's really the important part. And Barca oppositely have
Yeah.
lost the momentum. They had mad momentum. Come on, they've been insane.
And the reason I'm asking this
So
question is because there's been a lot of rumors, a lot of talk lately about like Messi and other senior players like they weren't happy after the game, things like that. So James, what do you think? Do you think it will have a knock-on effect?
Well, the thing is, the good thing about watching football is that you gain experience from the things that you don't actually think you're going to get from it. So in 2016, Barcelona were on the route to win the treble for a second year in a row, but then they lost to Atletico, then they lost El Clasico, and they ended up losing 3 league games in a row. Martin, do you remember that when they lost to Valencia Sociedad?
yeah,
I
and
remember that.
then
Yeah.
then we came back. Then we came back to a 1 point
So 1 point.
difference, and we were down like 14 points.
The thing is,
So I
like
don't.
James said, anything can happen in football. So you never know. People say La Liga is finished. People say it's over. With this Champions League loss, in my opinion, I think it could have a knock-on effect. I think their confidence might
I
be low
mean,
going into games now in La Liga, because they'll always have that loss in the back of their mind now. That was a huge loss for them. Barcelona really did want to win Champions League, and it's not going to happen.
yeah. Yeah, but well, to be fair, they are. We are not gonna be the team that will win the league. I mean, we are down with 15 points, but
Yeah.
Atletico are only 11. So, and we have quite tough games coming up. We've got like uh really tough games: Villarreal away, Sevilla away, Barca away, Celta, Bilbao. So I don't think we could do it, but maybe Atletico can. I mean, it's possible.
It's
After
possible.
we've seen them getting knocked out by Roma,
Hmm.
you know, it says it all. Really, it's possible. But I hope it'll happen. Imagine Barca going with so much, power, kind of
Yeah,
in this stage of the season, expecting to win everything, and then they lose La Liga and lose Champions League. That would be freaking beautiful.
it would be crazy. Okay, so we move on to the next two quarterfinal games, starting with Bayern versus Sevilla. 0-0, 2-1 in the first leg to Bayern. I'll be honest, I didn't watch this game because it was 0-0. There was nothing really to watch. It was pretty straightforward for Bayern going through in that one. They probably stayed more defensive in that game, don't you think? Because they know how good Sevilla are on the counter attack. What do you think, Martin?
Uh, well, I wouldn't say so. Bayern did have more possession that game,
Yeah, but
and
possession it doesn't really. Possession can just be keeping the ball, passing it about. Like I'm not sure. I didn't look at
true,
the stats. How many shots on target
true.
did Bayern have?
But they had double the goal attempts, and actually more than double.
Yeah,
And Sevilla, out of their 8 attempts, had zero on target, while Bayern, out of their 17, had six on target.
yeah, but if you look at
Bayern
it,
also had
Bayern probably
more
stayed.
corners, more offsides, more
Bayern probably stayed
throw-ins.
more stable because they knew, like I said, if they push players forward, they knew the threat Sevilla have
Yeah,
on the counter attack. So
yeah,
there's not much to really say about that game. It's pretty straightforward. Sevilla, obviously, they gave it the best go. James, I'm guessing you didn't watch
true.
this game as well, James.
I didn't, but like when I think of Bayern Munich, I think about how they had that managerial change and
Yeah,
how their Champions League campaign has like shifted towards the past. Like Jupp Heynckes's 2013 winning season. He gave his team this belief when they lost to Arsenal 2-0 at the Allianz Arena. They were perfect. They didn't lose a single game after that. Um, and that's carried on into this season. And so, believe it or not, even though Bayern themselves aren't undefeated this season, they've got a manager that has that mentality as if they're still undefeated. So the task at hand was just to not lose. That's all they had to do. From what I saw from the highlights, they were in first gear in the whole time. And if that's what the third best or fifth best team in Spain has got to do with them, then they have no worries. Not to mention that they can rest their players
hmm,
for the semifinals at the end of April.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, true.
Right, so we move on to the next game, Real Madrid versus Juventus. Okay, yep. So we move on to Real Madrid versus Juventus. First leg score was 3-0 to Real Madrid. This is where I owe you an apology, Martin. Obviously, I said it last week on last week's
Yeah.
show. In the predictions,
Yes.
I said it would be a closer game. You predicted 3-0, didn't you?
Uh, Actually, I predicted 3-1,
Well, 3-1.
but
So,
yeah,
so
but
Martin,
it,
I'm
it
sorry,
was
man.
even an easier one.
I'm
It was
sorry.
even an easier one than I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously, now talking about the second leg,
The second leg,
things
yes.
went a little
So
differently here. Yep.
after Juve
Oh,
saw Roma beat Barcelona, it's safe to say they were brimming with confidence. The score of this game was 3-1 to Juventus. Martin, talk about
yeah.
the game, please.
Well, it was 3-1 to Juventus, and it wasn't great. Statistically, we had more shots, we had more possession, more free kicks, more corners, more passes, more completed passes. But Juve are the team that scored the more goals. Now, it was a controversial penalty, but in my opinion, it was a penalty, and it was a deserved red card. And we're gonna get into that a little bit later in the Q&A section. And the Ramos, absence definitely had an effect. Vallejo being, not as an experienced player, and us not having the normal leader that we have in the defense, where we played the worst. Obviously, that's why we conceded 3. That was definitely the problem. It's not that Zidane didn't take the game seriously. He even benched saved up a few plays in the Madrid derby for this match. So he took it seriously. But the absence of Ramos did have an effect, though Juve also had Dybala out. So, you can be the judge of that. And luckily, at the end, we went through.
Yep.
A qualification is a qualification. I'm happy with it.
All right, so James, over to you now. As you mentioned before, like you're a Real Madrid fan as well, aren't you? So you were watching this game closely. What did you make of it?
All right, I agree with Martin when he said that Zidane took this game seriously because he benched his preferred Benzema over Gareth Bale because he saw that in the first leg, Benzema was the one creating space for Ronaldo inside the box.
Mm-hmm.
And in this game, he knew Juventus had a plan, which was to score at least 1 goal per half and maybe get a controversial decision here and there. And Bale was the one that was going to, feed off of those counters. But unfortunately, Juventus' setup was too tight for Bale to make a difference. I thought that the Isco disallowed goal was, something. I feel like sometimes UEFA make these decisions too quickly, and in the end, it favors them because it keeps the game alive. I'm pretty sure that would have killed the tie instantly in the 26th minute.
Yeah.
And because of that, people that watch the game, they see 3-0 and they think, oh my goodness, Real Madrid, what we thought about them before was just, sugar-coated by the fact that Ronaldo scored a beautiful goal. But a header from the back post against Dani Carvajal did the same damage as a beautiful bicycle kick that'll go down in history. And Juventus realized that Vallejo in the center of defense was going to be the weak point. And even though he directly wasn't making the mistakes, he was leaving space at the back post. And so was Marcelo because they weren't playing out from the back. Usually Ramos sends those long balls to Bale or Isco, and they didn't have the outlet this time. So Juventus knew that the counterattack wasn't going to be as vital as if they had Benzema and if they had Ramos. And I remember at one point Douglas Costa dispossessed Marcelo, and Marcelo made a tactical foul on him. I think it was in the 80th minute. Juventus, their game plan was consistent throughout the whole 90 minutes. While Real Madrid shifted. Now, I knew Zidane's 4-4-2 won them the game against PSG, and I knew that it made the whole world of difference in the second half of the first leg. But I thought that he made the changes in the 45th minute just a little bit too late. The second Mandzukic goal was scored because they didn't have anyone covering the left wing Marcelo was covering, and as a result, it shifted the whole momentum of play to the right wing with Mandzukic. If they had Asensio down the left and Vasquez down the right with Benzema behind Ronaldo, the game would have been resolved in the first half. But as a result, they had Ronaldo as a target man for the full 90, and Juventus were calm and collected. Even though Chiellini almost scored an own goal, like Martin, did you remember that? In like the 70th minute?
Yeah.
Buffon was saving those low shots. Like everything that Real Madrid knew of their season up to now was a complete lie, and this game was going to ruin their season. But they kept it composed. They showed that Zidane is not a novice manager, and he was selected manager of the year last year for a reason. And even though Allegri's changes and his tactics worked in the past, Real Madrid showed why their experience in winning the tournament and beating Juventus last season in the final hadn't faded away, and they showed why they deserved to win the game. Bill, should I talk about the pen?
Yeah, like that you mentioned the penalty. So the penalty, there's obviously on the group, there's been a lot of debate about this penalty. Was it a penalty or wasn't it a penalty? So Martin, do you want to talk us through this penalty? Just to talk us through what happened, if you like.
Yeah,
and then give us your opinions after.
Ronaldo put in, like, it was quite a close distance between him and Vasquez.
Yeah.
Vasquez being the player that got fouled. Ronaldo put in like across to Vasquez, and as Vasquez was controlling it, Benatia came in from the back. Now, here, the Juve fans, or just in general, anti-Madridistas, say that Benatia had a touch on the ball before getting Vasquez down. But when you look at it from a different angle, like I've got a picture pulled up here, you can see Benatia pushes Vasquez down with his right hand
Yeah.
as he kicks the ball with his left foot. So when you look at it from one angle, you can't actually see that. But when you look at it from the angle the referee was seeing it, you can clearly see the push from Benatia. And also the referee, what he saw was the push from Benatia, and that Benatia's foot went around Vasquez. So obviously you can't use your hand from being from the back of a player inside the box in front of the goal. You can't do that. Perfect.
So yeah, I completely agree with you, Martin. I saw it as well. I actually thought at first it was a penalty. I know some people took a while and said it wasn't a penalty, but the thing is, if you look at what happened anywhere else on that pitch, it would be given as a foul, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. If that happened in the center
Yeah,
circle, would that be given as a foul? Yes, it would.
For sure, for sure.
All day of the week, and it's not one rule for the other, is it? If it's a foul in the center circle, it's a foul in the penalty box, isn't it?
Yeah,
End of discussion. There's literally nothing else to say.
exactly.
I've seen people on GFSC, if you're listening now and you disagree that you think it wasn't a penalty, you're absolutely stupid. I'm sorry. I don't care if you're not listening to
No,
these
you-
shows again, you're stupid. End of story.
You know what? You know what? I have to add there. If so Vasquez controlled that, and he would have been like a meter, 2, 3, whatever, in front of the goal, and now it's here debatable. It's here debatable if he was pushed, would he control it with his chest? Like where would it fall? We wouldn't exactly know, but he'd have enough time, and he was close enough to the goal to control it and finish it quite easily. To be honest, that's you can clearly see. So if he gets fouled in front of the goalkeeper in a finishing situation, and it's given as a foul, shouldn't Benatia get a card for that? I mean,
Yeah.
this is. I mean, he should have gotten a red really when it was gonna be a 1v1, like 2 meters
I think like I said, it was a great decision by the referee. I mean, he's a Premier League referee, and I do watch the Premier League. I think he's probably the best referee in the Premier League. He doesn't usually make
Yeah.
that many mistakes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So I think he should have been strict on Benatia.
maybe yeah.
So yeah.
So James, what did you make of the penalty decision? I'm guessing obviously you thought it was a penalty clearly as well.
Well, putting emotion aside, I thought he wasn't gonna give it, but it wasn't because of what I'd seen. It was because of the circumstances of the game.
Okay,
I think-
yeah.
I think
Exactly.
Buffon's reactions were more out of emotion
Buffon's
than out of
reactions,
reason.
yeah.
Because he's receiving the ball from a situation where Benatia cannot tilt his foot in a way to give it to him. So I thought there was only 3 options. Benatia could chip the ball to him but take Vasquez out, curling his whole entire body around him. Foul Vasquez and get him to chest the ball down to him, or slide down to the ground and hope that Vasquez is shooting low.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but when you take into consideration the reputation of a player, I remember when Benatia was sent off against Aguero in the group stages of the 2014-15 Champions League. In the 5th minute, ref didn't hesitate, sent him off, gave the pen to Aguero. Why is this different? Vasquez doesn't have the reputation of a diver. But people, when they see
Exactly.
Real Madrid, they will rush to tag a player to this reputation because it fits their narrative that Real Madrid rob teams. And the reality is, if it happened to Juventus in Juventus Stadium, and Ramos or
Yeah.
someone with the reputation of being aggressive did it, then penalty, and Real Madrid fans would suddenly become, emotional or whatever. But because it was Buffon, how do I say? people are biased towards him. You can't hate him as a neutral,
Well, yeah,
even as a rival.
Hmm.
They feel this way. But if Navas was complaining, I remember when Navas complained against Suarez for diving in El Clasico, and no one's felt sympathy for him. The reason is I feel that people don't like Real Madrid. Either they fear them or they wanted to spice up the Champions League. But the reality is, it was a penalty.
yeah,
Any time of the day. Even in extra time, even the first minute of extra time, the ref would give that.
yeah.
No one would complain. But it was the last minute of the full 90.
And speaking of Buffon's reaction, obviously it was an overreaction. Do you think the red card was deserved? Yes or no?
I feel that Michael Oliver. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Martin.
Yeah, it was a red because Buffon had physical contact, and when Ronaldo did that against Barca, he got like a several match ban. And also for the aggressive yelling, it was a yellow. That itself, he would have definitely given a yellow. And plus the physical contact, it's definitely a red
yeah.
card.
Sure.
Yeah, James. Sorry for cutting you off, bro. What was your take on it? The red card. What do you think? Yes or no?
Oh yeah, no problem, man. I felt that he was trying to, he was trying to avoid Benasha being the scapegoat for the whole match. I think it was a red card, not even because of the contact, but because of him getting as close to the referee as possible. All right, so Michael Oliver usually takes stick from a lot of players, and so now he wanted to make amends for it and make a statement about himself in the greatest stage of them all, the Champions League.
Yep, exactly. I completely agree with you both there. So, yeah, crazy Champions League games there. Unfortunately, we're recording this before the fixtures are out. So, quickly now, guys, predictions for fixtures. What do you think, James? Semi-final fixtures. What do you think? What's your predictions?
I feel that Real Madrid always get to face the team that knocked out Barca. It's just a little bit of banter there, but I feel they're going to face Roma, and then they're going to face Liverpool in the final.
Yeah.
I feel that Bayern Munich, every time they face a counter-attacking team, they just don't learn their lesson. Real Madrid in 2014, 4-0, two counter-attacking goals. Barcelona in 2015, that Neymar chest goal and then volley. 2016, Atletico with that Griezmann goal, and 2017, Asensio. I feel that Liverpool are the most dangerous counter-attacking side, and I feel they're going to draw them, and they're going to be out, no matter what the bookies say.
Yeah. Martin, what do you want? Who do you want Real Madrid to face?
I want now. It might sound like ridiculous, but everyone knows how confident of a Madridista I am. I'm always confident. I'm always cocky.
Yeah, sure.
And I want us to face Bayern in the semifinals, and that's because
Yeah.
I think we will eventually face them in the final. And if we do face them in a two-match setup over a one-match setup, we have better chances of winning because in a one-match setup, a team can get lucky. Well, if like say but like Real Madrid versus I don't know some shite team, and they play one match, a big team can fuck up one match, but it's not hard to fuck up. But it doesn't happen that they fuck up too often. So yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Real Madrid would fuck both legs up. Well, it's possible. There's a higher chance that one match, the final, could be, and I'm pretty confident we would face them in the final. So that's why I want us to get rid of Bayern earlier, basically, and I'm confident we will do that. We knocked them out, as James said, 13-14. We did so last season, and we can do it again. We're the best team in the
Yeah.
world, and that's all.
I'm sure everybody's looking forward to that.
Yeah. All right, so now we've got coming up the Q&A segment, and the first question here comes in for Bill by Jaden. Does Ruben Neves deserve goal of the year? So what you saying, Bill?
100%. Martin, you saw the goal, didn't you?
Yeah, that was
James,
fucking
you
insane.
saw it as well?
Yeah.
I mean, I was there sitting, I was watching, and I literally couldn't believe what I saw. It's the best goal I've seen live, and if, like I said, if someone else, like a player, Champions League player, scored that goal, people would be raving about it for ages and ages. So that goal 100% deserves goal of the season. It's one of the best goals this year, and I know how FIFA do like putting goals like not from big leagues in the Puskas Awards. So I'm hoping he gets
True.
nominated for that. So yeah, I think definitely deserves goal of the season for the league, and hopefully it's nominated for Puskas as well.
Yeah. True. Do you think um that the Puskás Award is also given not only for the best goal, but the fans' reaction to the goal?
Uh, I'm not sure. It's a tough one to say really. Who won last year's Puskas? It was Giroud, wasn't it? The
Yeah,
scorpion
yeah.
kick. So
Yeah.
that definitely
Yeah.
deserved it. You know what it is? I think it's how much attention it gets on social media. I mean, like this Neves goal, it did actually get a lot of attention on social media. I mean, people from
True.
different
True.
countries were talking about it. I saw on Twitter, it was all over Twitter. So he's probably in with a
Yeah.
You
shout
know,
there.
I feel like if this goal contributes to them getting promoted, then it could actually
Well,
be
yeah,
one
we
of the
we,
pinnacle
we only
parts of the season.
need 2 more points to get promoted now.
It could be one of the highlights of the
Yeah,
season, and that'll bring the
that's what it
attention of it
is. Yeah,
higher up. Yeah.
hopefully, yeah. So Jordan, so yeah, he does definitely deserve goal of the season, in my opinion.
All right. So we've got a question here from Ijo Peter asking, will Arsenal have success in Europe? So, what you saying, James?
Well, I follow Arsenal pretty closely, and I remember when they played Chelsea in the Capital One Cup, and they managed to win the tie over two legs, bringing it back home. However, the Europa League, I don't think it's at that level. So I think that if they reach the final against Atletico Madrid, that's their best hope of winning the Europa League. But if they come across them in the semifinals, yeah, no, I don't see them winning that game at all. Even though I was going to say that when Leicester played Atletico in both legs, they were pretty close, and I'm pretty sure Arsenal were a better team than Atletico Madrid. So that gives me hope that Arsenal can actually win the Europa League.
I kind of agree with yeah, I agree with you. I think Arsenal, obviously they're not done that well in the Premier League now for a very long time, but this is their only real chance of like winning any silverware this season. I think they can do it. I think they can beat Atletico. That's assuming Atletico do get to the final. I think they can do it. Plus, do you think it's going to be Wenger's last season? Do you think he? I think he's going to be desperate because I reckon this is probably his last season, and I think he will be desperate to win that European trophy. So yeah, I think I agree. I think Arsenal will get success in the Europa League.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, me closely following the La Liga, watching a lot of Atletico's games. Honestly, I can't see Arsenal going past Atletico. I hope they do. I freaking hate Atletico, but they were Arsenal in a tight situation today, actually, versus Moscow, drawing 2-2.
Oh yeah,
And they
yeah,
were
yeah.
2-0 down. They were 2-0 down and pulled it back in the second. But and yeah, Atletico did lose, though they kind of played it safe. They weren't really after conceding that one. They played comfortably. They weren't under danger, you could say. So yeah, I can't see Arsenal actually winning anything in Europe. So even in the next few years, especially if Wenger stays. So yeah,
That's my
uh,
only point. I think this is Wenger's last season, I don't know. I just think I've got a little feeling. I don't know why. I think they can do it. I think they can get to the final, and I think they can go and win it.
yeah, hopefully. Now we've got a question here in from Aditya Anand asking, will Madrid survive another round without Ramos if he's suspended? Now, in my opinion, Ramos is a vital player, but if Nacho is there, then Ramos is less needed. I mean, Ramos is still the most important in the defensive aspect. He's insane. He's a great leader. He's a great defender. He's the greatest goal scoring defender. So he's really important to Real Madrid. But the main problem about him not playing is that Vallejo is playing, not that. And if Nacho has more experience, has more these type of games than Vallejo, and Vallejo, as James said earlier, didn't actually directly make mistakes, but the positioning, and I could point it out like even on top of my head a few times where he made a mistake versus Juventus. It's too much pressure for him. So if Nacho is available, and even if he's not, I still think Real Madrid will survive. But if Nacho is available, then Real Madrid will definitely survive, in my opinion. So yeah, Bill, What you
Yes.
think about this?
I haven't really got much more to add to that. I think you've literally touched upon every point that I was gonna make as well. So I just agree with you, Martin. Literally,
Yeah,
you
alright.
said you said everything I was gonna say.
Alright, that's great. James?
I feel it comes down to two circumstances. If the first leg is in the Bernabeu, obviously they'll make it through. But also the team they're facing. Because I remember in 2016 they faced Roma, and Roma dominated both legs with Salah. And I feel that Vallejo's not going to be able to keep up with any of the fast wingers, with Robin, or in Liverpool's case, any of the front three. So if the first game's in the Bernabeu, no matter who they face, they can make it through. You know?
Alright, so I wanted to throw this in there, sent in to me by Dana, not as a question. So yeah, I appreciate that, Dana. And it says Dembele on Instagram likes a comment criticizing Valverde uh, because he didn't put Dembele from the start. And the comment that Dembele liked also said that Dembele was the most dangerous player, even though he only played 5 minutes. So this is such cancer, and I am heavily disappointed that I have to share this beautiful planet with people that make these statements and horses like Dembele that actually back them up. He's a professional footballer and he's made several comments. Like when we drew versus Levante the first time, he said like thanks Levante or whatever. He's done that several times. So he's an immature little twat, proving it time and time again how undisciplined he is, even in his Dortmund days when he ran away from training. So I just needed to throw that in there. This just adds on to all of that. This cunt can never be a footballer. His next season is his last with Barca. And then he'd fucking join Morecambe. I don't even fucking know, in the fourth division of England. He's dog shit. Yeah, that's all I had to say on this.
Oh my goodness. So that was the weekly Dembele rant, guys. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's all we have time for now. It has been a brilliant show. James, we've got to have you on
True.
again soon, man.
Hopefully,
Yeah, you've been the best tactician so far.
Yeah,
Hey.
really like your information. Got a lot of tactical knowledge, and we really, really appreciate that, James. So yeah,
Thank you.
definitely.
Yeah,
get
we
on
usually
again.
have more banter than yeah, but
Yeah,
whatever.
but obviously we
It's
do have a
been
lot
great.
of banter on the show, guys. But this week, obviously, it was a UCL special, and there was a lot to discuss. I mean, we could go another 40 minutes on this show, couldn't we, guys?
course.
But
Yeah,
we are out of time.
literally we could make 2 episodes.
I mean,
Yeah.
we could make 3 episodes. We could banter more. We could cuss Lorenzo. We could we could take the piss out
Yeah,
of Armin
oh
again.
fuck.
So yeah,
Lorenzo.
we haven't had retard of the week in ages. So we promise you next week retard of the week is back. Yeah, and we'll spend more time on that just for you guys. And obviously we had to keep the Q&A short today, so we're sorry about that as well. Next week we'll be answering more of your
Yeah.
questions, hopefully. Right, guys. So like I said, that's all we got time for now. We'll see you next week again. Podcast is out a bit earlier today, so if you listen to this now, it is out on a Friday. Next week, it will be out on a Saturday again. Peace out, guys. See you next week.